I caught my boyfriend's betrayal the moment he proposed to me. I thought I knew the man I loved. I thought this ring, this symbol of forever, was a promise. But in the moment he proposed, I caught him in the lie of a lifetime. What happens when the man you're about to marry is hiding a secret so big? It changes everything. Join me as I unravel the lies, the betrayal, and the shocking truth that left me questioning everything I thought I knew. This is my story, and it's just getting started. The warm glow of LaToil's ambient lighting should have made me feel romantic, but something felt different tonight. I sat across from Daniel, my boyfriend of 3 years, watching him fidget with his napkin in a way that wasn't like him. His usual confidence seemed replaced by nervous energy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. "Emma," he said, reaching across the table to take my hand. His touch, usually so comforting, sent butterflies racing through my stomach. "These past years with you have been the happiest of my life. You've brought color and passion into my world in ways I never imagined possible." My heart fluttered at his words, and I squeezed his hand encouragingly. This was it, the moment I'd been unconsciously waiting for. Daniel took a deep breath, his eyes locking with mine. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, to wake up every morning knowing you're by my side." Time seemed to slow as he reached into his pocket and produced a small velvet box. The restaurant's chatter faded into background noise as he opened it to reveal a sparkling ring. It was beautiful, evidence of his taste and thoughtfulness. But as I looked closer, something caught my eye. A small engraving on the band seemed oddly familiar. My excitement transformed into something else entirely, a sinking feeling in my stomach that I couldn't explain. Call it women's intuition, but I felt with absolute certainty that this man proposing to me had already betrayed me. "Daniel, it's beautiful," I managed to say, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "Will you marry me, Emma?" he asked, beaming with joy, completely oblivious to my inner turmoil. I stared into his hopeful eyes, searching for any hint of deceit, but finding only expectation. Around us, other diners had noticed our scene, whispering excitedly among themselves. The weight of their attention, combined with the growing doubt in my chest, felt overwhelming. "Daniel," I whispered. I need a moment." Confusion flickered across his face. "Is everything okay, Emma?" I nodded, forcing a reassuring smile. "Yes, it's a lot to take in. Give me a second, please." I excused myself and practically fled to the restroom, needing space to breathe and process the whirlwind of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. In the restroom's dim lighting, I leaned against the cool marble sink, staring at my reflection, a portrait of a woman in doubt. When I returned to our table, I knew I had to buy myself time. "Daniel, this is all so overwhelming. The proposal, the ring, it's a lot to take in all at once." His eyes searched mine desperately. "I know it's a big step, Emma, but I love you. I want to spend my life with you." "I love you too, Daniel, more than words can express. But I need time to think about it, to process it all." The words felt hollow, but they were true. I did need time to investigate the nagging suspicion that was eating at me. The next morning, after Daniel left for work with his usual cheerful goodbye tinged with uncertainty, I sat at our small dining table with my laptop open. The memory of that ring's engraving haunted me. I knew I'd seen it before, and I was determined to find where. I scrolled through Facebook with purpose, clicking through album after album of shared memories and events. Hours passed as I searched through snapshots of birthdays, holidays, and casual gatherings. None held the answer I sought. Then I found it, an album from an engagement party 4 years ago. My heart skipped a beat when I saw Daniel on the cover photo. With trembling fingers, I clicked through the photos until I found what I was looking for. There it was, a post from Sophie, Daniel's ex, celebrating their engagement. The photo showed her beaming, holding up her hand to display her engagement ring. The ring with its distinctive design and that small, unique engraving on the band, the exact same ring Daniel had presented to me. A shiver ran down my spine. I knew about Sophie. Daniel had told me they'd dated for about 2 years. But he'd never mentioned they were engaged. The man I thought I knew, the man I loved, had offered me a recycled symbol of his past relationship. I stared at the screen as tears blurred my vision. This wasn't just about a ring anymore. It was about deceit, about my self-worth, about the truth I deserved. I closed the laptop, unable to bear the sight any longer. That evening, I heard Daniel's keys jingling at the front door. He entered with his usual bright smile, carrying a bottle of wine and a red rose. "Hey, love," he greeted cheerfully. I accepted his gifts with a quiet thanks, waiting until he'd settled in before speaking. Daniel, we need to talk. About the ring. His smile faltered, something flickering through his eyes before he composed himself. Sure, what about it? I slid my laptop across the table, displaying the photo of Sophie wearing the ring. This ring, you proposed to Sophie with it, didn't you? Daniel hesitated, his gaze shifting between me and the screen. Yes, but it's not what you think. I leaned back, crossing my arms. Then explain it to me. Make me understand. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I knew well. It's a family heirloom. I wanted to give you something with history, with meaning. My eyes narrowed. So you offered me your ex-fiancé's ring? It's not like that, he protested. It's been in my family for generations. Sophie wore it, yes, but it was always meant to be passed down. It didn't work out between us, so she gave it back. As I listened to his explanation, my heart warred between wanting to believe him and the evidence before me. But deep down, I knew that regardless of whether the ring was a family heirloom, he should have told me about his engagement to Sophie. The omission felt like a betrayal, a fundamental dishonesty about his past. Looking at the man I'd loved for 3 years, I realized I was seeing him clearly for the first time. And what I saw was someone who could keep significant secrets. Someone who could present me with a symbol that carried the weight of another woman's dreams without considering how that might make me feel. I searched his face for any sign of deceit, any clue to the truth that might help me understand who this man really was. Emma, I love you, Daniel said, reaching for my hand. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. I'm sorry I never told you about the engagement with Sophie. It's an episode one wanted to bury. Please understand. I pulled my hand away, feeling a protective barrier rising within me. I want to believe you, Daniel, but I need time to think. Is there anything else I need to know about your past? I promise you, Emma, there's nothing else. Sophie is ancient history. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and you only. Take all the time you need. I'm here when you're ready to talk. With that, Daniel retreated to his home office, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Our apartment, once the sanctuary of our shared life, now felt like a stage for a play I no longer understood. My gaze drifted back to my laptop, the photo of Sophie and the ring fueling my doubts and clouding my mind. I clicked through my own photos, each one a memory now laced with questions. As I delved deeper into the digital archives of our relationship, I began noticing other small inconsistencies, moments where Daniel's stories didn't quite align with the evidence before me. A late night he'd said he'd spent at the office when his location tagged him elsewhere, for example. Each discovery was a thread, unraveling the tapestry of trust we had built over the years. I felt a fissure erupting in the foundation of our relationship that threatened to grow wider with each passing moment. I needed to talk to someone, to share this burden with a confidant who could offer perspective. I picked up my phone and dialed Lena, my closest friend and source of unwavering support. Hey, Emma, what's up? Lena's voice came through bright and cheerful. Lena, I think Daniel's been lying to me, I said, the words feeling strange in my mouth. The concern in her voice was immediate. What happened? Tell me everything. I recounted the events of the proposal, the discovery of the ring's history, and the subsequent inconsistencies I'd noticed. Lena listened, her occasional hums of understanding a lifeline in the sea of my confusion. Emma, this doesn't sound like you, Lena said, concerned but pragmatic. You're always so sure of yourself, of your relationship. I sighed. I don't know, Lena. I just feel like I don't know Daniel anymore, like he's a stranger wearing a familiar face. Lena paused, considering her words carefully. Maybe you need to confront him, to get all the cards on the table. You can't live with this doubt hanging over you. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. You're right. I need answers, and I need them from Daniel. With newfound resolve, I hung up the phone. I needed to face Daniel, to confront the doubts and fears that had taken root in my heart. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. My steps were firm and resolute as I made my way to the living room, where Daniel was watching Netflix. Daniel, we need to talk more about this, I said, my voice steady. He looked up, his expression shifting from relaxation to concern as he took in my serious tone. What is it, Emma? It's about the ring, I said, my gaze unwavering. Why didn't you tell me you were engaged to Sophie? Daniel's face hardened, a defensive edge creeping into his voice. Where is this coming from, Emma? Why are you bringing it up again? He stood up, his demeanor shifting from defensiveness to anger. I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this. Yes, it was the ring I gave Sophie, but it's just a ring. Just a ring. My voice rose, tinged with incredulity. It's a symbol of your past, Daniel. A past you never shared with me. How can I trust you when you hide things like this? I thought it wouldn't matter, Daniel argued. The ring doesn't change how I feel about you. I love you, Emma, not Sophie. But it does matter, Daniel. It matters to me, I retorted, my heart aching with every word. You're hiding things from me, important things. How can we build a future on secrets and lies? Daniel's anger seemed to subside, replaced by resignation. I didn't want to hurt you, Emma. I thought keeping it from you was for the best. I shook my head, my eyes glistening with unshed tears. Keeping secrets is never for the best, Daniel. I need honesty and transparency. I need to trust you, and right now I don't know if I can. There was heavy silence, the tension between us palpable. Daniel looked at me, his eyes searching for forgiveness, for understanding. What do you want me to do, Emma? I need time, Daniel, I said, my voice softening. I need to think about all of this, about us. He nodded slowly. I'll sleep here on the couch tonight. Take all the time you need. As Daniel settled back to his show, I turned and walked to our bedroom, closing the door silently behind me. The next morning, I sat in my favorite cafe, a quaint haven amidst the city's hustle, nursing a cup of coffee that had long since lost its warmth. The chatter around me was a distant murmur, a backdrop to the storm of thoughts raging in my mind. My gaze was fixed on the rain-streaked window, watching as the world outside blurred into a watercolor of grays and blues. The ring of my phone broke my trance. It was Jenna, a mutual friend of mine and Daniel's. I hesitated for a moment before answering, bracing myself for what might be another complication. Hey, Jenna, I greeted, my voice a cautious blend of warmth and apprehension. Emma, I thought you should know something. Jenna began immediately, her tone hesitant. I saw Daniel with Sophie a few days ago. They seemed close. I felt a sharp pang in my heart, like a crack spreading through glass. Are you sure it was them? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Yes, I'm positive. I was surprised, given his proposal to you. Lena told me about it, Jenna replied, her words tinged with concern. I thanked Jenna and ended the call, my mind racing. Daniel had met with Sophie and hadn't mentioned it. The omission was another shadow of doubt that now loomed large, casting further suspicion on every word he had ever spoken. I left the cafe, the sound of the bell above the door tolling ominously behind me. The city streets were a blur as I walked, my thoughts consumed by this new revelation. Everything I thought I knew about the man I loved was crumbling, piece by piece, and I wasn't sure if there would be anything left to salvage. Upon reaching our apartment, I called Daniel immediately, bracing for another awkward confrontation. Emma, Daniel answered right away. We need to talk, Daniel. About Sophie, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. His tone shifted instantly. Sophie, why are we talking about her again? I took a deep breath, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. I know you met with her recently. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel hesitated. Who told you we met? It was nothing, Emma. We just bumped into each other. It meant nothing. Intuition and trust were waging a silent war within me. It doesn't feel like nothing, Daniel. It feels like a lie by omission. I could practically see him running a hand through his hair. Emma, you're overthinking this and overreacting. It was a chance encounter. I didn't think it was important. I shook my head, feeling the trust that once anchored our relationship fraying at the edges. But it is important, Daniel. It's about honesty, about us. How can I trust you if you keep things from me? Emma, I love you, Daniel repeated, sounding desperate. You're the one I want to be with. This thing with Sophie, it's in the past. It doesn't change how I feel about you. I remained quiet, fishing for truth in this sea of uncertainty that had become our relationship. I want to believe you, Daniel, but I need you to be perfectly honest with me. Daniel sighed heavily. I am, Emma, I promise. I am being honest. Look, I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of a meeting with a big client. Let's talk about this when I get home tonight, okay? Please trust me, love. Everything is fine. There is nothing to worry about. Okay, see you later then, Daniel. Please don't get home too late. I hung up and stared out the window into the distance, my mind a mess of doubts. I thought back to the early days of our relationship, the laughter and love that had seemed so genuine. Now, each memory was tinged with the shadow of doubt, each moment a question mark in the narrative of our love. As the hours passed, my heart battled between the love I still felt for Daniel and the betrayal that now cast a pall over everything. The ring, once a symbol of our future, now felt like a chain, binding me to a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to face. By the time darkness fell outside, Daniel still wasn't home, and I was already falling into a restless sleep. The Saturday morning air was crisp as I went on my regular run through the local streets. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and hurt, still reeling from the recent revelations about Daniel. My phone, pouched on my upper arm, buzzed, jolting me back to reality. I stopped and took out the phone, opening a message from Lena. My heart sank as I read it, accompanied by a photo. The image displayed Daniel in an intimate conversation with an unknown woman at a cafe, their heads leaned in close, a picture of familiarity. I took off running again and quickened my pace, my thoughts racing as fast as my steps. How many more secrets was he keeping from me? Upon arriving home, I found Daniel sitting on the couch, his attention fixed on a television news show. "Daniel," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "Can you explain this?" I demanded, showing him the photo. Daniel took my phone, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the image. "It's not what it looks like," he said, handing the phone back to me. "Not what it looks like." My voice rose, a crescendo of frustration and disbelief. "It looks like you're having a cozy time with another woman. How is it anything but that?" Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's a client, Emma. We were discussing business. It's not what you think. She's considering investing over $1 million in my balanced fund. This is a big deal for us. Do you know how much my commission on $1 million?" I folded my arms, my posture rigid with skepticism, and cut him off. "A client? Since when do business meetings look like intimate coffee dates?" "She's a new client. I was trying to make her feel comfortable. It's part of the job," Daniel explained defensively. "I have to build up trust with all my new clients." I felt torn between the love I still felt for Daniel and the growing mountain of doubts. Maybe he's telling the truth, I thought, suddenly panicking. Maybe I am overreacting. "Daniel, how can I trust you?" I asked plaintively. "First the ring, then Sophie, now this? It's like I don't even know who you are anymore. I just don't know if I can believe you." Daniel stood up and stepped closer, his expression softening. "Emma, I love you. You have to believe me. These are just misunderstandings." I stepped back, putting distance between us. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Every time I think we can move past this, something else comes up." The room fell silent, the tension between us a palpable force. My gaze dropped to the floor. Daniel stood there, a look of helplessness on his face, unsure how to bridge the ever-widening gap between us. "Emma, please," Daniel pleaded, his voice a whisper of desperation. "Don't let this ruin us. I'm telling you the truth." I retreated to our bedroom, closing the door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. The photo Lena had sent was burnt into my mind, a symbol of the doubts that now clouded my heart. Outside, the city struck up its everyday symphony, oblivious to the drama unfolding within the walls of our apartment. The morning air carried the sounds of life moving forward, while I found myself at a complete standstill. Much later, as the clock struck midnight, casting a hushed silence over the apartment, I was still awake, the glow of Daniel's laptop screen illuminating my determined yet weary face. After our last confrontation, my heart had become a fortress of suspicion. With a deep breath, I logged onto the laptop. I knew his password, my fingers hesitating over the keys. Daniel's email was open, and I knew I was crossing a line I'd never crossed before. As I sifted through the emails, each click felt like a step deeper into forbidden territory. But then I saw it, a string of emails between Daniel and the unknown woman from the cafe. I recognized her from the profile picture on her email account. My heart pounded in my ears as I read, each word a hammer striking at the foundations of our relationship. The emails revealed a familiarity that went far beyond a simple client relationship, intimate conversations that spoke of shared history and emotional connection. Everything I thought I knew about the man I loved was crumbling, piece by piece, and I wasn't sure if there would be anything left to salvage. Feeling a surge of anger and betrayal, I slammed the laptop shut. The room spun around me, a maelstrom of emotions I couldn't control. I had to confront Daniel, to face the man who had shattered my world. When he finally came home that night, we spent hours talking. He pleaded, weaving words of remorse and promises of change. And I, my heart a tangled web of love and betrayal, had agreed to stay, to give him one last chance. But as dawn broke the next day, bringing clarity with its light, my resolve hardened. I needed answers, and there was only one person who could provide them. I decided to meet Sophie, Daniel's ex-girlfriend, the woman who had unwittingly incited this conflict. The restaurant where I arranged to meet Sophie was a busy little place. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the soft hum of conversation provided a backdrop to a meeting that could alter the course of my life. Sophie arrived, her calm presence a mirror to my turmoil. We exchanged a tentative greeting, our shared history with Daniel creating an unspoken bond between us. "Thank you for meeting me, Sophie," I began, gratitude and apprehension warring in my voice. Sophie nodded, her eyes reflecting an understanding born of experience. "I know why you're here. You want to know about Daniel." I leaned in, my heart racing. Did he ever cheat on you?" Sophie's sigh was heavy with memories. "Yes, he did. I found out through a trail of lies and half-truths, just like you're experiencing now." My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms. "He told me you two just grew apart." Sophie shook her head, a bitter smile on her lips. "That's what he tells everyone. But the truth is Daniel can't be faithful. He's charming and persuasive, but it's all a facade. He's a player. It's like a challenge to him to bed every attractive woman he meets." The revelation hit me like a tidal wave, the last vestiges of my denial washed away. I thought I was different, that our love was different. Sophie reached out and took my hand in a gesture of solidarity. I thought the same, but men like Daniel, they don't change. They just find new people to manipulate. I felt rage and sorrow welling up within me. I had been a pawn in Daniel's game, my love exploited by his deceit. "I need to do something," I said, a newfound determination in my voice. "I can't let him get away with this." Sophie nodded emphatically. "You should. People need to see him for who he really is. I'm sorry now I didn't do anything to expose him. I just walked away so he got away with it yet again." As we parted, I felt a sense of purpose fueling my steps. I would no longer be a victim of Daniel's manipulations. I would be the author of my own destiny. Empowered by Sophie's words, I formulated a plan. I would expose Daniel's deceit, not just for myself but for all the women he had wronged. I would reclaim my story, turning my pain into a catalyst for change. I walked back home, the city around me pulsing with life, unaware of the conflict brewing within me. I knew the path ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to face it head-on. The time for silence and secrets was over. Now was the time for truth and reckoning. The evening air was filled with anticipation as I prepared for the gathering at our apartment. The living room felt like a stage set for a play whose script I never wanted to write. I had arranged everything under the pretense of celebrating our engagement, a celebration that was now a facade for a much grimmer revelation. Guests began to arrive, filling the apartment with laughter and congratulations. I greeted each one, my smile a mask hiding the turmoil within. Daniel, oblivious to the storm brewing, mingled with our friends, the picture of a happy fiancé. As the room buzzed with conversation, my gaze swept over the faces of our friends, people who had been part of our journey, unaware of the deception that lay beneath the surface. I saw Lena and Sophie among them, their eyes meeting mine in silent support. With a deep breath, I tapped my glass, signaling for attention. The room fell into a hush, expectant faces turning toward me. "Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight," I announced, my voice steady despite the chaos raging inside me. "I know we're all here to celebrate our engagement, but there's something I need to share." A murmur rippled through the crowd as I continued. "I've learned recently that Daniel has not been truthful to me. In fact, he's been having an affair with another woman and still had the audacity to propose to me." Gasps and murmurs filled the room, a cacophony of shock and disbelief. Daniel's face turned ashen, his eyes widening in horror as I held up the printed emails. "These are emails between Daniel and the other woman," I said, my voice ringing clear and strong. "An ongoing affair that he tried to hide from me." The room erupted into a vortex of reactions. Some guests looked at Daniel with eyes full of questions. Others turned to each other, whispering in hushed tones. Daniel stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. I had found my voice, and I wasn't going to let anyone silence it again. The weight of the room pressed on me, thick with tension. My heart pounded so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. It was a mix of fear and liberation, fear of finally speaking the truth, and liberation from the burden of silence I'd carried for so long. The truth was no longer mine to protect, and as I stood there, my words began to break free. The truth would come out whether Daniel liked it or not. "I also have testimonies from Sophie and Lena," I said, turning slightly to look at them, the words trembling from my lips, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had nothing left to lose. "They've both witnessed Daniel's true nature." Sophie and Lena nodded from their places at the side, their unwavering presence a silent pledge of support. They had seen the lies, the manipulation, the games he had played, and now, so had everyone else in this room. The room seemed to hold its breath. All eyes on Daniel. It was almost as though everyone was waiting for him to say something, to defend himself, to deny the truth. But deep down, I knew he couldn't. Not this time. He had nowhere to hide anymore. I wanted to believe in us, Daniel, I continued, my voice steady despite the emotions crashing against me like waves. But I can't be with someone who lies and cheats. I deserve better. We all do. I thought I saw him flinch, the slightest flicker of guilt in his eyes. But it was gone so fast, replaced by something else. His face twisted into an expression I couldn't even recognize anymore. Emma, please let me explain. It's not what you think, he said, his voice pleading. It was the same old line, the same old manipulation. But I was done. No more excuses, no more explanations. He had taken enough from me. Shaking my head slowly, I cut him off, my voice firm. I won't listen to those words ever again, Daniel. No more lies, no more excuses. It's over between us. There. I had said it. The words were out in the open, hanging heavy in the air. It wasn't just a breakup, it was a declaration. A declaration that I was no longer a victim. That I had taken control of my own life again. The room grew quieter. Guests shuffled out, their hushed conversations not quite masking their curiosity, but I didn't care. Daniel stood there, a defeated figure, all the power he once had over me draining away. His humiliation was palpable, but it was his to bear now, not mine. Sophie and Lena moved toward me, their arms wrapping around me like a shield. Their warmth was a balm to my soul, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. The last of the guests trickled out, and the silence of the empty room enveloped me. I stood still for a moment, soaking in the quiet. The stillness wasn't cold, it was something else. Something powerful. Something I had been craving for so long. I turned my gaze to Daniel, who hadn't moved an inch. His eyes were fixed on the floor, his entire posture a testament to the hollow shell of the man he had become. My heart did not ache for him anymore. I felt nothing for him except for a faint residue of the love I used to feel, now buried deep beneath layers of betrayal and disillusionment. Goodbye, Daniel, I whispered, the words now final, a clean break from the past I had tried so hard to hold on to. With that, I turned away. My steps were light, almost purposeful, as I walked out the door. I wasn't walking away from him. I was walking toward something new, toward a future that was mine to create. Months passed since that night, but the sting of that heartbreak had turned into something else, a source of strength. It no longer consumed me. In its place, I had found something more powerful. A quiet confidence, an unshakable resolve to reclaim my life, to embrace my true self. I had taken up art in the aftermath, something I had always wanted to do, but had never found the time for. I found my voice in colors, in brushstrokes, in pixels. The pain, the sadness, the anger, it all flowed out of me and onto the canvas, transformed into something beautiful. Something that was mine. I was no longer afraid to be honest with myself or the world. The gallery buzzed with excitement that night. It was my first official showing, and the walls were adorned with my digital artworks, each one a snapshot of my emotional journey. The pieces reflected my growth, my healing. They were bold and vibrant, every color a testament to the darkness I had emerged from and the light I was now embracing. Sophie and Lena were there with me, standing by my side as always. They had seen the transformation, both in me and in my art. The gallery lights illuminated their faces as they looked at my work, their expressions a mix of pride and awe. Emma, these are incredible, Lena said, her eyes scanning the pieces on the walls with a sense of wonder. You've really outdone yourself. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. Thank you, Lena. It's been a journey, but every piece of work was a step towards healing. I can't tell you how much it means to have this moment. Sophie, always the more outspoken of us, joined the conversation with her characteristic enthusiasm. You've turned your pain into something beautiful, Emma. It's inspiring. You've shown us all how to take our struggles and make something powerful out of them. Her words resonated deeply within me. It was exactly what I had done, what I was still doing. My art was more than just art. It was my voice, my truth, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore. Just then, Mr. Edwards, the gallery owner, approached me with a smile that practically lit up the room. Emma, there's someone here I'd like you to meet. He motioned toward a woman standing a little ways off. This is Ms. Harper, an art critic for Art Vision magazine. Ms. Harper walked over with an easy grace, extending her hand. Your work is deeply moving, Emma, she said, her voice sincere. There's a raw honesty in your art that speaks volumes. I look forward to seeing more from you. I took her hand, a wave of pride rushing through me. Thank you, that means a great deal to me, I said, my words a little choked with emotion. The validation from someone in the industry was unexpected, but immensely fulfilling. As the evening wore on, the crowd around me grew. Conversations buzzed in the air, and I found myself swept up in a whirlwind of compliments and admiration. Each compliment felt like a seed of validation, each word of praise a reminder that I was on the right path, that I had made the right decision to walk away from the life I once knew. At one point, I found myself standing alone for a moment, taking everything in. The high ceilings of the gallery, the soft hum of voices, the glint of light reflecting off the art. This place felt like home. More than that, it felt like a sanctuary for my soul. A place where my art had found its voice. A place where I had found my own voice. I turned my gaze to one piece in particular, a vibrant phoenix rising from the ashes. It was more than just an image. It was a symbol of everything I had endured, everything I had overcome. A reminder that from the depths of destruction, something beautiful could emerge. I took a deep breath, feeling the air fill my lungs. I was no longer the woman who had been broken by betrayal. I was the woman who had found her way back from the darkness, who had reinvented herself and reclaimed her life. This gallery was proof of that. Proof that I was not a victim of my past, but the creator of my future. As the last guests trickled out, offering their well wishes and leaving behind a trail of praises, I realized that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I was the author of my own story. A story of independence, resilience, and self-respect. A story that no one could ever take from me again.